Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 15, National Football League. I dubbed Week 13 Showdown Sunday in the National Football League. NFL Network took it a step further. Week 14, they dubbed it Survivor Sunday in the National Football League. And after watching all the games unfolding in week number 15 on Sunday, on Thursday with the Broncos, I decided to dub Week 15 Letdown Sunday. And this was a huge matchup on Letdown Sunday, or in this case, Letdown Weekend, because this is a Monday night game. Detroit Lions at home hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Two football teams really, fighting and scratching and clawing for their postseason lives, both coming into the game at 7-6, both equally needing this game as much as the other. You look at this from the visitors' standpoint in the Baltimore Ravens. Look, I was flat out wrong about this Ravens team, and I'm never ashamed to admit when I was wrong. And I was simply flat out wrong about the Ravens. I left these guys for dead at 4-6. I said this isn't a team that's going to make any noise in the AFC. They're not equipped with enough stuff, that being a running game that's adequate, a defense that forces enough turnovers. They're not getting enough production out of their receiving corps, tight ends, all of it. They're not good enough as a football team to make any noise in the AFC conference. They're done. And I wasn't even giving them a chance at the wild card in that sixth and final spot in the AFC. And you didn't have to be a world beater to even be in that discussion. And yet I still didn't want to talk about the Ravens in that capacity. Now, forget about the wild card. The Ravens still have an outside shot at the division. At 7-6, if they're able to win this game and go to 8-6, they win the rest of their games, including a win in Week 17 versus Cincinnati. They win the division. So these guys aren't even out of the divisional discussion right now. They still can win the AFC North if the Cincinnati Bengals aren't careful. So this is a huge game for the Ravens. They're still trying to fight for that wild card spot. And you look at it from the home perspective, and that being the Detroit Lions. Look, I've talked about this Lions team ad nauseum, and I'm not even going to be angry about what happened in this game because I'm done venting and I'm done, really taking this Lions team to task. I said this a month ago after they lost to Tampa Bay, and I said these were my exact words. They're holding this division warm for either the Bears or Green Bay, and honestly, I thought it would be the Green Bay Packers. But after they took care of the Packers in short order on Thanksgiving, I thought maybe they learned their lesson. Maybe they understand what they need to do to win this division. No, they don't. And I still think, and I think those words ring even truer now, that they're holding this division warm for the Green Bay Packers. I think that's who ultimately is going to win this division. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to sneak up on them and the Bears and take this division. But this isn't about anybody else. This is about the Detroit Lions' inability to get it done at home. Let's break this game down. 7-6 Ravens at 7-6 Detroit. Huge matchup in both conferences. 7-6. You got to have it. Let's get to the board and break this down through the eyes of me, Louie T. So, 7-6 Ravens, 7-6 Lions on Monday Night Football. Huge matchup. Lions at home. You got to have it. There's no other way to say it. You're at home, big game, big stage, gotta have it. So, an average drive is extended by a Matt Elam personal foul penalty. They called him for roughing Matthew Stafford on a slide on third down, which would have yielded a punt. But the drive is extended, and it leads to a Reginald Bush 14-yard touchdown run. 7-0 Detroit. Excellent blocking on the play. John Gruden and the Monday Night staff did a wonderful job of breaking down the blocking and showing everybody getting out there. I love Larry Warford. I thought that he was an excellent pick, and I talked about him glowingly in the draft wrap-up that I did for the Detroit Lions way back when he was first selected. And he's proving to be a huge player on this offensive line. And he had one of the big blocks to spring Reggie around that corner. So did Brandon Pettigrew. And it's 7-0, and that's the type of start, if you're Detroit, that you want to get off to. You want to set the tone early in this game and really establish that you can score points against this Ravens defense and that you're going to score a lot of points. And we all know the Ravens are allergic to scoring points. They don't want to score a lot of points. They want to keep this game nice and low scoring. They want to keep this game muddled up. And if you allow them to do that, then you'll be into for a dogfight. But if you score 28, you score 24, you score 31, they can't keep up. They can't keep pace because they don't like scoring points. They're allergic to scoring points. So if you're Detroit, that's a great omen right there. That's a great sign that you got a touchdown. You know the motto. You know the motto. You know the mantra. Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. So that's 7 on the board right there. 7-0 Detroit early in this football game. Ravens put together a lengthy drive, but have to settle for a field goal of 29 yards. 7-3 Detroit. So the difference right now, Detroit gets down there into the red zone. They get it in the end zone. Ravens get down there, get in the red zone, get inside the 10-yard line, got to settle for a field goal. That's the difference right there between the two teams in the early portion of this game. So Ravens trail 7-3 at this point. Baltimore moves it down the field again and notches another field goal at 7-6. Detroit's still up, but now the Ravens have cut into that lead a little bit more. Now it's 7-6. Couple of questionable penalties on that possession, however. They called Louis Delmas for a couple of penalties. The second one, the one on the sidelines where he comes and he leads with his helmet. Look, I'll give you that one. Okay, if you want that one, you can have it. Okay, if you want to call, personal foul, defenseless receiver, helmet-to-helmet contact, whatever you want to call, he did both. Okay, fine. The pass interference at the 1-yard line, 2-yard line, 3-yard line, egregious. I mean, just one of the worst calls I've seen, and I've seen a lot of bad calls this season, but I mean, the guy did absolutely nothing. I don't even know what they were looking at. I don't know where you see a flag at on that play. I just don't. And so I thought the Lions got jobbed there. But defense held up. They only give up another field goal. So 7-6, Detroit still leading in this game. But if you're Detroit, you got to pick it up. And I'll take the time to mention the fact that Calvin Johnson was not having a good game. You don't get called Megatron when you drop the football. And he dropped a couple of big ones early in this game. One in particular, that third down grab. If he catches that football, Matthew Stafford, bought some time, was able to get outside the pocket to extend the play, and he throws a dart to him. If he catches that one, there's nothing but space and opportunity in front of Calvin Johnson on that particular play. If he catches that football, I'd like to say that that's another 20 to 25 yards of real estate in front of him. He's a big guy. Who knows if he doesn't make a guy pinball off of him and get it into the end zone. I mean, there was a lot of space for him to work with after that catch. But you got to make the catch first. Again, before you can ball, and have fun, you got to catch the ball. And a lot of guys, they want to ball and run, but you can't have fun. You don't have the football. And he took his eye off the ball, fell right out of his hands, and he had another drop on a second down on the possession before that would have yielded a first down. And the next play, on third down, they didn't pick it up. They had to punt. If he catches the football on second down, it's a first down, and they move the stick. So, I mean, it's little plays like that go unnoticed that people don't talk about that really impact a football game because you don't know what those possessions lead to if he makes those catches and you extend the possession and you get another set of downs. So, Calvin Johnson struggled in this game mightily, and that's all a part of a team that doesn't know how to win right there. I mean, your best player on the big stage in a game that you have to have lets you down a couple of times. And I know nobody on that team is sicker about those drop passes than Calvin Johnson. He's a very prideful guy, like they said on the telecast. He's a guy that wants to win, and he wants to win so badly that sometimes you make some mistakes, and he's better than that. And you need your best player to step up in a spot like this. You need him to be on his best, and Calvin Johnson simply was not on his best in this particular game. So another field goal right before the half, just for good measure by the Ravens, as they take a 9-7 lead, their first lead of the game, as they go into the half up by 2, 9-7. All field goals for the Ravens. And since that opening possession touchdown by Detroit, absolutely nothing. Nada. Zip. Zilch. Haven't even sniffed a possession in Baltimore territory. They've struggled offensively since that first possession. So we go to the second half. Ravens start the scoring in the second half with what? Come on. What else? A field goal. You know the motto. Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. But Ravens are adding them up. This is their fourth of the game. It's 12-7. If I'm Detroit, I feel really good about where I am because even though we're not doing much, a touchdown and we're right back in the lead in this football game. Finally, Calvin Johnson gets involved, catches a 37-yard pass that sets up a field goal. And on this particular possession, the officials, it's amazing how you can make an egregious call on a no call and then miss an obvious pass interference, and that's a no call. So earlier in the game where you flagged Delmas for a obvious no call that should have been absolutely nothing, there was nothing there to call. Okay, you flag him for that and give the Ravens a field goal. On this particular play, Ladarius Webb is checking Durham in the end zone, deep ball, one-on-one coverage. Durham makes a one-hand attempt at the football. You want to know why he makes a one-hand attempt at the football? Because he didn't have another free arm. That's because Ladarius Webb is holding it down and pinning it against his thigh so that he can't go up with two hands to try to make a stab on the football. And how do you miss that one? You know what? I'll never know how you miss an obvious pass interference like that, yet you make an egregious one earlier in the game against Louis Delmas, who wasn't even close to the receiver. You can't. I don't know. I just don't know how you miss that one, but they do miss it. End result, Lions have to settle for a field goal. It's 12-10. So Lions right there in striking distance. A field goal gives you the lead. A touchdown really puts you ahead, especially with the Ravens struggling to put the ball in the end zone. A touchdown might be all that you need to win this football game at this point. Early fourth quarter, Stafford is picked off by Darryl Smith, and it leads to a 53-yard field goal. It's 15-10 Baltimore, and that's another issue I have with this Detroit Lions team. The penchant for turning the football over. Okay, good teams don't turn it over at the rate the Lions turn the football over. And it's one thing to go on the road, have a couple of miscues. It happens. But at home, to continuously turn the football over the way the Lions do is despicable on so many different levels. And you can't win like that on a consistent basis. Sure, you can beat a Packers team led by Matt Flynn on his first week back with the football team. Sure, you can win that game on Thanksgiving on a short week and blow them out 40-10. Have your way with them and turn it over 3 or 4 or 5 times. Hey, you can even get away against a bad Dallas defense and a clueless Dallas offense down the stretch and win a football game in which you turn it over 5 times. Sure, that can happen as well. But you can't think for 1 second that you're going to beat good teams on a consistent basis, turning the football over, and you're at home. It's just not a winning formula. Turning the ball over home, away, it doesn't matter. You turn it over at the rate that the Lions turn it over at, you need to expect to lose the football game more times than not. And for you, the fact that you're even 7-7 speaks to how talented this football team is. Because honestly, you probably are more along the lines of 5-9 with the amount of turnovers that you have. You should probably be 5-9 right now, not 7-7, because of how often you have turned the ball over this season. But because this team is so talented, you've been able to overcome those turnovers. But I'm going to tell you what, your luck is about to run out, because if you think that come late December, early January, you can get away with turning over the football and still win, and this is when it gets tight. You know, this is when teams ratchet it up a notch, okay? And right now, you're still playing like it's September. You're still playing like it's October. This isn't Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Nobody has pink on anymore. It's time for you to turn it up. It's December now. Teams are playing their best football. You're still playing like it's week 6. Your end result, another turnover. It's 15-10. Baltimore kicks another field goal. They're 5th of the game. They're now up by 5. Stafford leads and this is what good quarterbacks do. I can't call you great because you turn it over way too much for my liking, but this is what really good quarterbacks do. Stafford leads the Lions on a 12-play, 80-yard drive that ends in a 16-yard Joseph Fourier touchdown. And I love Joseph Fourier. You know how I feel about him. I've already said it. I'm not going to say it again. But I love that guy because I know when he gets in the end zone, he's going to give you a little something extra. And so, of course, Joseph gave us a little something extra. I enjoyed it. It was 16-15. They go for 2. Makes sense. You get the 2-point conversion. You're up by a field goal. Field goal doesn't beat you in that case. And again, all the Ravens have done in this game is kick field goals. So you want to make sure you protect yourself against the field goal that beats you by converting this 2-point conversion. And it was a terrible day for Calvin Johnson. And this one pretty much put a period and an exclamation point on that. Beautiful back shoulder throw by Stafford. And Calvin Johnson manages to not get any feet inbounds. It's not like he got one in and the other one, just missed it. He jumped out of bounds literally with the football. I mean, all he had to do was turn around, position himself, plant his feet, and stretch his arms out. He could have made that catch, but instead, he decides to jump backwards, catch the football, but land out of bounds. And he gets up and he's like, I can't believe I just did that. Yeah, you just did that. That's the type of day it was for this Lions team. More importantly, that's the type of day it was for Calvin Johnson. I mean, if he makes a couple of plays in this game, this could be a different outcome. But he didn't, and that's the type of night it was for him. And this team struggled offensively because of it. And so it's 16-15. Look, that's what good teams do. That's what good quarterbacks do. When your team has to have it, you take them down the field and you give them a chance to win the football game. Now it's time for your defense to step up. Okay? Defenses kept this Ravens team out of the end zone all night. Now you need to stop. You can't even afford to give up a field goal at this point. You need a stop to preserve the win. That's what you need at this point. So it's 3rd and 15. You got them right where you want. You get a stop here. They're going to go for it on 4th down. If they don't get it, you win the football game. It's really simple. Get the stop, get off the field, win the game. Even though you turned it over, Stafford with 3 interceptions at night's end, even though you haven't played your best offensive game, even though you didn't look like a divisional winner, sometimes you got to win ugly. And again, I was once told by a wise man, don't be pretty, don't be cute, be good. And so this wasn't going to be a pretty nor a cute victory. But if you get it, you'll take it gladly, and that means you're good. So 3rd and 15. You got them right where you want them, and you let them off the hook. A completion to Double J, Jacoby Jones, for 28 yards, leads to a 61-yard game-winning field goal by Justin Tucker. And I said this about 3 weeks ago when the Ravens were in Chicago versus the Bears. And I said, this Baltimore team right here got the best kicker in the league. And nobody was listening. Nobody wanted to hear me. And I said, all the young kickers that came in, and he came in with that those wave of young kickers last season, he received the least amount of hype. Yet, he was the most consistent. And there was Blair Walsh in Minnesota, and he came in and he was making all these 50-yarders, and everybody kind of got wild by that. There was Legatron, Greg Zuerlein in St. Louis. He was kicking the 60s and the 50s, and he had a huge leg. Everybody was wild by that. And quietly in Baltimore, Justin Tucker was doing all the winning. He kicked the big kick in Denver to win that football game. He made all the big kicks for the Baltimore Ravens last season. He was the one getting it done. All those other kickers couldn't hold a candle to him, but they were getting all the notoriety. They were getting all the attention. And I told everybody, shh, quietly, be very, very quiet. Justin Tucker's the best one out of that group. That's what I told everybody, and now you're starting to see it come to fruition. Justin Tucker simply does not miss. You need it from 53, he gave it to you in this game. You need it from 61 for the game, he gave it to you. Well, whatever you need, Justin Tucker can do it for you. The man is automatic, and he's young, and he's going to be good for a very, very, very long time. And they got themselves one whale of a kicker. He had to kick 6 field goals in this game. And they needed it, every single one of them. Every single one of them. That gives them an 18-16 lead. But there's still over a minute of football left in this game. Lions have plenty of time to go down the field and make something happen. They don't have any timeouts, but they've got everything they need to win this football game. But in typical Matthew Stafford fashion, in typical Detroit Lions fashion, Matthew Stafford throws a pick to Matt Elam to seal the game for the Ravens as they get it done 18-16. Wow, 6 field goals. You know the motto. You know the motto. You know the mantra. Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. Except when you're the Baltimore Ravens and you can kick 6 of them and hold the opponent to only 16 points. Hey, maybe field goals do win games sometimes. Maybe they do. Not often are you going to get away with 18 points in the National Football League. But when the home team turns it over 3 times and they're dropping passes and they got penalties, you can get away with 6. You can get away with 6 field goals. Wow, what a defensive effort by the Baltimore Ravens. What an effort in a performance by Justin Tucker. 6 field goals, 6 for 6. And Joe Flacco, once again, gets it done in the clutch. Again, under 2 minutes, I don't know if there's anybody better in the league than Joe Flacco. He's Joe Cool under 2 minutes. What can I say? What can I say? The man gets it done when the pressure is its greatest. That's why they paid him all those bucks. For Detroit, I'm not even going to yell at you. I'm not even going to have a sit-down, heart-to-heart with you. I've already done that. I've already done it. You don't want to go to the playoffs. I already said this. I said it a month ago. When you didn't beat Tampa Bay, that showed me a flaw and a weakness. That you don't have the killer instinct that it takes to be a postseason team, to win a division. You don't have it. And it's okay. The postseason isn't for everybody. It's not for everyone. That's why everyone doesn't get to go. Everyone can't go because everyone isn't made to go because everyone isn't built for the postseason. So it's fine. If you don't want to go, if you don't need to go, then don't go. It's okay. No one will shed a tear. Someone will gladly take your spot for you. Someone that isn't afraid of the postseason and all that it brings. So if you need to glide to the side and allow Chicago to take your spot or Green Bay to take your spot, please, by all means, do so. Do so. And that's what you're doing now. You went from first to third like that. And you had every opportunity to run away with this division. And you just simply didn't. You didn't want to do it. You couldn't do it. You couldn't resist turning the football over. You couldn't resist being undisciplined. You couldn't resist dropping the football. You couldn't resist being an undisciplined, bad football team. And I'm hearing reports now that if you don't make it to the postseason, they're cleaning house, they're getting rid of Jim Schwartz, and potentially Martin Mayhew, your GM, and everything. Everybody's gone. I don't know if I have a problem with that. I don't know if Martin Mayhew has done a bad job or not, but I've been saying that Jim Schwartz is a horrible coach for a long time because this team is undisciplined. They're too talented to not win. And he's part of the reason. He's undisciplined, so by default, this team is undisciplined. He's a hothead, so by default, this team is a hothead. Ravens get it done 18-16. They go to 8-6. They win the rest of their games. They win the AFC North. Unbelievable. I can't even fathom. I can't even wrap my brain around it. This team was 4-6. I left them for dead. I threw them into the ocean, no life raft, and walked away. I got back on the boat, and we sailed away. No life raft, nothing. No life-saving device. I left them for dead at 4-6. And those guys showed me the heart of a champion. They said, we're the champs, and until somebody knocks us off the throne, we'll remain to be that way. I can't argue with results. They're 8-6, and they still got a shot at not only making the postseason as a wild card, they've got their eyes set squarely on that AFC North crown. Cincinnati, you better watch out. Now, I will say this. If you're asking me to put my money on somebody in Week 17, Cincinnati at home, playing these Ravens, give me Cincinnati. They haven't lost at home all season, and I don't see Baltimore going in there and getting it done. But I tell you what, if both teams win in week number 16, it'll set up one heck of a match in week number 17, indeed. But That's 2 weeks away. You still got to take care of business in week 16. For Detroit, you're 7-7. You're in third place. I don't know what to say to you. I mean, all you can do is try to win the rest of your games and see what happens. That's all you can do. And so that's going to do it for me here in the lab room. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we'll cover it all here in the lab room. I thank you for joining me. Week number 15 in the National Football League, letdown weekend. Detroit, colossal letdown at home on Monday Night Football. Doesn't get much bigger than that. So they don't get it done. Ravens do. We'll see what happens down the stretch. It's intriguing football. Got to play your best football down the stretch, or else you get left at home while everybody else gets to go and play in the postseason. I've got plenty more games in Week 15 to break down, so come back and join me for Week 15 of the National Football League.